Good morning or afternoon, depending on where you are calling from across the country. We appreciate y'all being here today. Today is Thursday, June 22nd, 2017, and this is Mastermind call number 131. Hard to believe we've been doing it this long, but all right, we have two people in the queue. See, every time I ask, I get another person. That's great. All of us are here today. We've got some interesting news for you guys today. We've been planning new and better upgrades and new programs, and we have actually 3 in the works, and we have one that we are prepared to talk about today. Tim, you want me to save you for last, or do you want to start off with that?
No, I'm gonna need to start early because I'm probably gonna have to jump off here at about the 20-minute mark. I've got some stuff that I have to go do, so okay. I'll do it in the beginning here if that's okay.
You're up.
So a couple things. First off, some of you may have been waiting to hear back from Mark Boucher. Mark is our guy that's contacting you in the point of contact for Mailbox Motivator. Mark is also a physical fitness fanatic and known in a lot of the Tough Mudder and Spartan circles, and he does a lot of that sort of stuff. Last weekend, he decided that he needed to run up the side of Mount Washington in New Hampshire, and he did that, and unfortunately didn't make it all the way to the end. He was close to the top and had a medical problem, which he's had before, and it basically because he tortures himself too much and his body sort of attacks him, and he gets this terrible thing called a GERD, and there's another part of it that's also some disease. Anyway, he's been in the hospital since Sunday. He is I'm happy to say that he's just getting out this afternoon, which is great, and he's back on his feet, and he's going to be fine. Once he gets back to Florida, he will be pretty much abused, and hopefully he'll stop this. The other thing that he got is called rhabdomyolysis, and apparently it's just kind of a shutdown of the muscles of your body before you check out of the lifetime. Anyway, so Mark will be back, but the bottom line is I've been trying to reach out to several people about that and also about website issues because he handles some of that as well. And if I haven't gotten to you yet and you're still waiting to hear, I will be finishing up those this afternoon. I'm subbing for him until he's back in the saddle, and it'll all be good there. So the other thing that I wanted to talk about is that, as Jim said, we've been working for a while, and we consistently look to release new product along the way, and we've been trying to do that for quite some time, and it's sort of embarrassing. We haven't gotten it done sooner than now, but we're so thorough about what we do and so careful about what we do to try to do it in the best possible way that we take maybe a bit longer than other people might to just roll something out the door, but we think we're ready to go do that now. So we're announcing a program today having to deal with obituary listings. That's a pretty onerous topic, and we agree that it would be if it's not approached correctly. And I can tell you that we've had lots of discussions internally about how best to handle this. We have the data available to us. We know that it's good information. It's valid information. We know that lots of people are calling people that are in that situation, and they're approaching them in a bit more unscrupulous way than maybe we'd like. So we put a program together to put that in and make it work for you. You'll notice when you look at what we're saying about it, we're pretty serious about you doing it the right way and not taking advantage of people and all of that. But we're putting a program out that we're going to start as a trial in the beginning to roll this out, a maximum of 50 obituary listings per month per county for only $300. Now, these are ones that include real estate. By our structure and what we've pulled down, we're pulling only the ones that do already have real estate. So these are pre-qualified. So your cost of dealing with them and spending your time to figure out if there's anything there has been taken care of up front. It's $300 for 50 obituary listings. If you log into your subscriber portal, you'll see a thing on the left side that says obituary announcement. If you click on obituary announcement, it will take you into a brief little bit of information about that. Once you do that, at the bottom, if you're interested, click to send me information. Just let us know you're interested. We'll get back to you, give you a buzz, and talk to you about the availability of data in your county and get you started. We're excited about this. We're going to give you some scripts to work with, but the key element to keep in mind is that we are not approaching this as an obit and we're not recommending that you do that. And quite frankly, we're telling you that you can't do that. Obviously, you're adults and you can do whatever you want, but if you do that and we get complaints, we'll probably drop you from the program, because we are serious about being good people and doing good things and doing them at the right time. So this is purely a top of mind, kind of at the precise time of greatest need program. We want to make sure that your smiling face and your information is in their hands at the time they might need it most, and that's what we're doing, but we're not doing it to exploit people, and so we know they're under emotional distress. We're also including in this the initial rollout of scrubbing against the do not call list, so you know exactly what you're dealing with when you make that phone call. This is a limited marketing offering. We're not going to dump it on everybody, and we may make changes as we go, but for right now, we're pretty excited about rolling this out. Please let us know if you're interested. In the form, just mention the county that you're looking for. We already know who you are because you've logged in. So that's
Tim,
my big announcement.
Yeah, I just wanted to add a couple things. You know, most of the programs we create are at the request and the need of our customers. And if you're in average market USA and you're doing well with the probates, this is probably not anything that you need. This works great in markets that are highly competitive. You know, there's some areas in California and you know, up in the north and western part of the country and in Florida, where we hear that a lot of these, by the time it hits the probate court, a lot of these are listed or sold. So if you're in a hyper competitive market, this is good. If you're also in a very upscale market where a lot of properties don't go through probate because people are smart enough to have trusts, this is a good program. This should pick up the probates very early in a competitive market, and it should also pick up the trusts, which are basically the only properties that don't go to probate. So it's
well, the other thing that's important, Jim, about this is that it's also a great product for, and particularly for people who are needing to cash quickly. We need to get, you know, they need to get an investor brought into the deal, and you may have an investor in your pocket. Hopefully you should. We train people to do that. So if you have an investor and you can bring cash to a deal and they need cash, because oftentimes the people who are under most pressure here are people who someone has just passed away. They've left a house. The house does have equity in it. The house can be moved, but the house needs to be sold and converted to cash to provide continued medical care or education or care for children or a number of things that become pressing upon the death that was unexpected. So that's the other reason that we talk about leading with value. But everything Jim said certainly is correct. It's just an additive product, and you know, certainly we're trying to make it so that it's easy for you to do and not horribly expensive, and we're going to see how good the value is.
And Tim, if they're interested, just hit the contact us button, supported all the leads, and just say I'd like to know more.
No. Now you got to listen. You need to listen to what I said. You must not have been listening.
I wasn't listening. Go ahead.
Under subscriber resources on the left-hand side of your subscriber portal, the third link down says obituary announcement. If you click on that, you'll see all of the information about this, and at the bottom of it, there's a button that says, I'm interested, send me information. If you click on that, you fill it out, let us know, we'll be getting back to them.
Perfect. I knew that. I just wanted you to repeat it.
Yeah, I'm sure you did. I know how well your span of attention is.
All right, partner. Thank you. Good job with that. Chad, anything from a coaching training perspective you'd like to share with the group?
No, not really this week. Let's get to the folks in the queue.
Yep. I've had a couple people, one or two people in the queue. Hopefully they'll be in the queue, but one or two people before the call wanted to hear more about Mastery and our basic training programs. And if you're one of those people that asked me that, please hit *6 and then hit 1. And Chad, Tim, you wanted to add something else?
Yeah, I had also forgotten to mention that included in that is we're going to send the first letter out to them directly for you, and we're going to give you a script to follow up with them, so you don't have to really figure this program out. We've kind of gotten it nailed down for you, and that's all included in what we're doing. So it's the leads, the letter, and the follow-up script and the training necessary to get this thing done. So please let us know. We'll be happy to help you out. Thank you.
Perfect. We have 5 people in the queue. Good job, guys. *6 and hit 1. And before we go to that, Tom, anything you want to add from a customer service perspective? You there, Tommy?
Oh,
right, well,
Tommy.
I know one thing he's going to tell you. If you need help with anything, hit the Contact Us button on our website. It takes you to support@alltheleads.com, and just be real specific about what you need help with. Tom has been calling all of you on a regular basis, but if you need help before his next scheduled call, please reach out, let us know. For some reason, yeah, Tom, I'm not sure. He says he's on, but we can't hear him. Yeah, I don't know why, Tommy, but that's all right. Let's move on. If you're able to, maybe you can hit *6 and hit 1, and we'll take you as a. We'll put you in the queue. We'll get him in the queue to comment. All right. Well, thank you so much for you people that are participating. First up is phone number ending in 1773. You're up first.
Can you hear us?
Yep, you're good.
Oh, okay. This is our first time on the call, and
Welcome.
For some reason we thank you. For some reason we cannot get the video or whatever is on the screen to work. So it may be something that's not just isolated to Canada.
You know why? Because it's a conference call. It's a phone call. There is no video.
Okay. Why? All right. We got an email that said we had to click on something.
Oh, okay, Chad, go ahead.
No, I mean, you can click to add it to your calendar, but this is just a conference line.
Okay.
You're not.
All
right.
Well, good.
You're not missing a thing.
This is the best it gets. It's just audio. You don't want to have to look at us. That would not be fun for you. Do you have a question we can help you with? Is there anything we can help you with today?
No, we just got signed up yesterday, my partner and I here at the office, Luis and Michelle, and I have not had the opportunity. I don't know if Luis got a chance to look at it last night.
No.
But we didn't want to miss the call today just in case there was something that we would miss. So
wonderful. And the first thing you should do as soon as you get time, watch those fast track videos. Chad's done a remarkable job of putting a lot of information into 3 10 to 12 minute segments, and watch those. It'll answer 98% of your questions. The fast track videos. Okay, excellent. Well, thank you, and I'm glad you didn't miss the video because we're good. We're good. You're good the way you are. Phone number ending in 2441. You're up next. Can you hear us? Wireless caller. I can hear you breathing. 2441. Phone number ending in 2441. All right. Let me try unmuting you manually. Can you hear us now? All right. We're going to move on to the next one. Whoever that is, if you want to hit *6 and come back in again, we'll put you at the end of the queue. Phone number ending in 8602. You're up next.
Yes. Hi, guys. My name is Kareem. I'm here up in the West Palm Beach area.
Hey, welcome.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you perfect. Thank you.
Good. So I signed up about 3 weeks ago, and I got the mailers out, and I made for my first round of calls. I just wanted to give you guys some stats. So I ordered 100. I had about 13 conversations with people that still possible. They're not quite sure yet. 6 are still making up their minds. I scheduled calls in July and August. And I have mostly 62 follow-ups, basically voicemails and so forth. I had some of them that had a reverse mortgage on the property. Is there anything we can do about that?
Yeah, there's no reverse mortgage is fine. It generally means that they have equity in the property. So it's not like a short sale. Sure, you can still do a reverse mortgage. You can still sell.
And that's the first thing you need to establish is their equity, and at what stage is the reverse mortgage? Because if no one's living in the home, then it does trigger. It triggers the due on sale, or it calls the note. So the first thing you need to know the specifics of the mortgage. What's the balance? Like how much do they need to come up with, and then look at the market value and determine if there's equity in the home.
Well, so this one, it was a particular one. These guys are out of state, and they owed more than what it's worth. and they just wanted nothing to do with it, and they said they're just letting it go to the bank.
Mm.
That's been my experience too. Because it's not, the folks that I've spoken to that were in that situation, there wasn't really enough motivation to go through the discomfort of a short sale because it wasn't going to impact it wasn't impacting anybody's credit. So they just said, nah, let it go. And I've even had a couple where they had $10,000 or $15,000 in equity, and they just, the kids had plenty of money of their own, and they just weren't willing to go through a short sale process for us to help them. So
right. Okay, so it's like there's nothing I can do at that point, right? Just move on to the next.
If you don't have a ready, willing and able seller, there's not much you can do.
Right. Okay. And then for the people that there's 25 of them that literally said, do not call me. There's no property to this day. I just noted at 25. I'm not going to include them in the next mailing, right? Or
so
do you recommend I should?
Well, it just depends. So if they said don't call me, we're never selling, or you've upset us, you just have to use your own judgment. I will say that a lot of times a surviving spouse will still be grieving, and they'll tell you not to call. But life, the life situation can change in a heartbeat for folks in that demographic. So I've helped surviving spouses that fully intended to spend the next 20 years in a house, and within a couple of months, their entire situation changed, and they had to sell it immediately to afford long-term care and rehab. So I was like the best guy in town then, where 2 months prior I was the devil. So you just kind of have to use your judgment of why they're telling you not to call back as to whether or not you're going to follow up. If you feel like it's in their best interest that you follow up, or that you really are, I'll say this: use your judgment, and you determine if you think they're better off hearing from you again than not hearing from you, then call them back. But if you think you just upset them and there's no chance, just there's a button in the CRM you can click, remove from calls, remove from mailing, and they won't hear from you again.
Oh yeah, I use a separate CRM. I have that on there. I just wanted to go over the stats with you, so I do what's recommended here, and so I can build the business up. So I have a couple appointments still set up, but nothing yet. But I am excited, and I like this market a lot.
And hey, by the way, I have to congratulate you. I want to congratulate. Yeah, go ahead, Chad. You want to kudos him too? You go first.
I was just going to say, kudos to you, man, for taking action quick. It sounds like you just bought 100 leads and you blew through them immediately. So good for you for doing that. There's no better way to get started than to jump in, and I always say it's easier to steer a moving truck. So you sounds like you've already learned a lot, and the next list will be a lot easier for you.
And I was going to say, yeah, same thing. Congratulations on taking massive action right away. And it sounds like, you made 100 calls, and it sounds like you have about a 16% successful contact rate. That's pretty darn good. Back when I prospected, FSBOs that expired used to answer the phone. When I talk to agents today, they say they can make 100 calls, and they're lucky if 2 or 3 people answer. So that's good. You're getting good phone numbers. You're getting people to answer. You're having good conversations. Keep it up.
Yeah.
Keep it up. Yeah.
Yeah, some of them it takes a little bit of time, so it's July or August that I have to follow up with, and it's the nature of the game. But I look forward to doing more with that. Also, I kind of missed what you guys started out with the whole obituary list. I'm here in Florida. It's very competitive here, as you know, Jim. But I just want to know I'm just on the right track and so forth.
Yeah, no, it sounds to me, Chad, any advice that you can give them? It sounds like you're completely on the right track.
If you want to learn more about the obituary piece, go into your mailbox, your subscriber portal, and click the third menu button on the left, and you'll see something in there that says obituary announcement. That's really kind of an onerous thing to have put in there. It looks like I've posted a death notice.
Oh, really?
Maybe I
Okay.
should change that.
All right.
All right. Well,
Anyway,
go
but
ahead.
that's where you need to
appreciate
check.
you guys.
We've already had several folks complete that already since we started, but that I just realized is not a very good menu link. We'll probably change that. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, guys.
All right. Thanks for participating. Appreciate it. Next up is a guy who immediately after the call is going to call me back and sign up. You're up next, Chandler. Fire away.
And you even know which, the name associated with the phone number.
I do.
Okay, so yeah, Jim, we were talking before the call about some of the questions that I have, and I'm real green into this, and so I just kind of don't know what to expect, and so I was the limited experience that I have with probate is from a situation that has an out of town, whatever you call them, executor or administrator or whatever, and it seemed like they needed an advocate here nearby, and the attorney charges too much per hour to make it make sense for them to, go put some eyeballs on the property, make sure it actually got cleaned up, or make sure that the estate sale company did what they were supposed to do or whatever. And so the attorney was turning to us asking if we could help, do some of these small jobs to go drive by the property or help, schedule people, or maybe even pay some contractors to change locks or to, do lawn service or whatever. I don't know. And so that was my biggest thought or concern is how do I deal with this extra piece of service if it seems, just from my limited experience, it seems like it could be kind of a big deal, but yeah, from what you were saying earlier, it wasn't, and I just thought I should ask it out loud here in front of everybody in case somebody else has a different experience.
I want Chad to answer that, but also to let everybody know, you have a pretty extensive background as an REO agent, so you're
Yes,
used to doing all that stuff, and you were asking me, is it the same level of service required as an REO? And so that's
right,
kind of
exactly.
the basis. Okay, Chad, you want to handle that?
Sure. So, what we teach, Chandler, is we want you to build that team around you. So contractors and estate sale companies, senior moving services, clean out crews, et cetera, et cetera. The big difference between doing that as an REO agent and what most of us do is you don't have, the bank is not holding you accountable and expecting you to pay for it and then you get reimbursed. It's more just a professional network. So you're the hub of this team. So when you talk to these folks and you say, listen, we've got a great estate sale company, I'll actually have them go out, look at the property, and then give you a call. Does that sound good? And then that's the extent of your involvement. So the contractual relationship and the money passing back and forth between your vendors and your client doesn't ever come through your business, ideally. That way you're not taking on the admin responsibility and the liability of passing money through that you don't get to keep any of. That's how we recommend setting it up. And honestly, I've pointed contractors, photographers, home stagers, clean out crews, painting guys. I've pointed them all at one listing and never had anything go wrong. They contracted directly with the seller. And so until the initial appointment where you meet with the seller and they trust you, it kind of looks like you guys are all under one roof. But once you've kind of met with them and explained what it is you're going to do, then you pull in the people you need and have them contract directly with or pay directly to the seller. So it's not a lot for you to manage. You're just the relationship manager, not necessarily you're not managing the logistics.
Gotcha. So do you have situations where an out-of-state owner needs you to go and look at and make sure that a repair job was done, or needs, a contractor go in and give a quote, but you kind of have to tell the contractor what you need a quote on, and somebody's got to make the decisions on what items need to be repaired or cleaned up and to what extent and that sort of thing. And so does the realtor typically play that role?
You can. If you're the one that made the initial suggestions, like personally, because I've got a good knowledge of construction and flipping houses, so I'll walk through the house and say, we need to do X, Y, and Z. It's going to cost about this much. I can get a contractor to confirm that if you want. Okay, we send him over, and then we go through the quote, and I say, okay, so here's the exact cost. Do you want to do all these things? Okay, I'll have Joe give you a call. You can sign the contract, and then we'll move forward. And if they're never in town or there's not a local caretaker, I mean, you can. I've done things where I'll walk through and just shoot a video. I mean, you could shoot a video, upload it to YouTube, do Facebook Live, any way to just walk them through the property if they can't be there, or put that on the contractor to make them prove that they've, each day that they've done the work.
And Chandler, the other thing I was going to add, one of the biggest differences between an REO and this, the REO virtually 100% of the time is going to have repairs. A vast majority of these people are just going to sell as is. They're not going to want to do anything. So it just sounds like you had one or two deals that were pretty, labor intensive. That's not going to be your typical transaction. Most of the time. The bigger point about having this team of people is to just, it's really the differentiation. So the people who take this seriously and build a team around themselves, focus specifically on this specific problem for folks. If you have any competition, there's no way they're going to measure up to you. And there's very few deals where you'll use more than one or two of those people on the team, because oftentimes, even though you have a contractor and you can completely renovate a home, the family just aren't willing to take the time and the financial risk to wait for that to happen. A lot of times they're emotionally exhausted and they just want it sold. Your estate sale company, you might use it one in every 25 listings you may do an estate sale. But knowing that you have that level of professionalism and preparedness is usually what really sparks their interest and gets you the phone call instead of the other 14 postcards, or investor postcards that are on the coffee table.
Mhm. Gotcha.
Makes sense?
Good deal. Yeah, it does, and that helps a lot. I mean, the part of the challenge I have is that I've got very limited experience in this area, and so with the two deals that I've done, I'm trying, that's my reality. And so to know that, I mean, just that stat you just gave, I know you're just kind of shooting from the hip on it, but 1 out of every 25 might need an estate sale. I mean, so far I'm 2 out of 2 for estate sales, so that helps me kind of put it into perspective. So how about this? We've got, a bunch of stuff in the house. It's ridiculous. I mean, there's just from porn to collectibles, and so you've got stuff that they're like, oh gosh, just throw it all away. And then now you've got, they uncover something in a cabinet and it's something really nice, and now the heirs are kind of fighting over it and thinking, that they want this and that. And so it's kind of stalling things out. So I'm just curious, how often do you have squabbles like that where the heirs are fighting over possessions or having a disagreement? And then let me take it one step further. How often is there a situation that maybe I can't even think about right now that would completely cause the deal to just never go through, or to stall out, or to just cause all your efforts to evaporate into no closed transaction?
You're probably 1 in 500 where it won't close, 1 in 100 where you'll have difficulty, and probably 1 in 100 where you would have any kind of a squabble over personal. Probably less. It might be 1 in 500 where people squabble over personal property. In order to get in front of that and figure out if you're going to have a problem, one of the things that we adamantly teach is that you have all decision makers present for the initial meeting, whether that's virtual or in person. You need to have everyone that's a decision maker, and that doesn't necessarily mean that they're on the paperwork. The question that I like to ask is, who do you feel like should be part of this conversation? And give them permission to bring in, spouses and, distant cousins, people who might have social leverage on the personal representative but may not show up in the actual probate paperwork. If a distant cousin collects firearms and someone passed away that had a firearm collection, and he's not on the will, he's not in the paperwork, but that person had promised him, a Model 94 with Carlton Heston's signature on it, then that could blow up because he could show up at probate court and contest the will saying, no, he told me this, he shook my hand back in 1984. So it's not that he really has the rights to that because it wasn't in writing, but that's a small example. You want to say, who do you feel like should be part of these decisions, and throw up those red flags early if they are going to come up. That way you don't have a property on the market, a buyer's agent relationship blowing up, and a title company saying, we don't know what to do, you're going to have to do it. So you're better off to learn as much as you can. What we teach is focus on the people, then the situation, then the real estate, and learning who the decision makers are and what the relationship dynamic among them is usually kind of the important first step in fleshing out those red flags. I'll say 95% of the time, these move smoothly and they're the best clients ever. You'll uncover a couple where somebody comes out and, makes some claim to property. We recommend, one of the key players I recommend is having a really good title company or attorney that can be a lamb or a lion. So they need to be able to work with a 94-year-old grieving widow, or they need to stand up and roar when something like this happens and write big, scary legal letters so things move forward. And I learned that, half a dozen deals in, I hit one like that and we hung up because a brother who had literally signed himself out of the will contested the will, and we had to threaten to sue him. And I had a buyer's agent. The buyer had hard money, and the clock was ticking. She was already paying interest. She wanted to flip the house. And I had a buyer's agent who could not control her emotions. So my phone was ringing 10 times a day, and that's where I learned. And I took accountability. I said, you know what? You didn't ask good enough questions. You should have known more about the situation. So it's just try to include everybody who might be a decision maker and ask good questions about, the personal property, and if everybody has the same goals, everybody's on board with selling. And if those things are if there's skeletons in the closet, hopefully they'll come out there and you can deal with it before you put it on the market and have other people's emotions to deal with.
And Chandler, I always
Excellent.
feel
That helps a ton.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate the questions. I always feel compelled when we get into these situations. We had one a couple weeks ago where the executor had killed the members of the family, which was his parents, and I thought, oh my God, you could do this for 100 years and never have that situation occur again. So I always feel compelled to tell the people that are brand new, these are really one-off situations that are rarely going to happen. For the vast majority of these, they're going to be very cooperative, very motivated people that had this dumped on them, and they just want to move on with their life and get it sold. But it's good to ask questions like that. We appreciate it. Did that pretty much help you out, Chandler? You good?
Yeah, it really did. Thank you. And the death to the executors, that's insane. But yeah, thank you. Appreciate it.
All right. Thank you. We have three more in the queue. Next up is 6782, phone number ending in 6782.
Yeah, hi. Can you hear me?
We can hear you. Yes, sir.
Hi, Joe Doobie here in sunny Tampa Bay, Florida.
Hey, Joe.
Hey, just a quick question or two. One is the letters. We're sending our first batch of letters out today and tomorrow. When do you suggest we start calling?
Are we doing the letters for you, Joe, or are you doing them yourself?
No, the service is doing the letters.
Okay, so you'll get a letter from yourself in the mail.
Okay.
And as soon as you get that, that's kind of a cue that if you got it, your potential clients probably got it. That's a good time to pick up the phone.
Okay. All right. Perfect. So once we get that, then okay, very good. And then I've gone through 2/3 of the training. Is the last third of the training? Is that where you get the scripts and everything?
Yeah, that's focused on the initial conversation, and we don't have, written scripts per se because these conversations can go so many different directions. So what we give you is a kind of a conversation framework that you can work your own language into.
Sure. Okay. All right. Very good. I think that's it for now. Appreciate it.
Welcome, Joe. Thank you. Two more people in the queue. Phone number ending in 2441. You're up.
Hi, sorry, before I put myself on mute, and
Yeah.
I had a great question. But guys, yesterday I had a chat with Tim, and I learned that I know it's probably not advisable, but there is an administrator access to the website. I was wondering if someone could send that to me. I have some tweaks I want to make, so I just wanted to know if I could get that sent to me.
You're talking about, now you're not talking about our ATL website, you're talking about one that our company designed for you?
Yes, I am.
Okay. Yeah, if you would, Tim had to sign off early. If you don't mind, send an email to support@alltheleads.com, and either Mark or Tim will get back to you and help you with that.
Perfect, thank you.
Okay, anything else?
That's it.
All right. We have one more person in the queue, and we actually, guys, we're doing good today on time. We have room for more. If anybody else wants to hit *6 and then hit 1, you can be next. In the meantime, phone number ending in 3689, you're up.
Good morning, afternoon. This is Leroy in Arizona, and I picked up some questions as I listened here. Number one, you said a short sale process is what you use if somebody has a reverse mortgage and there is equity. Would you elaborate a little bit on that? Not a lot, but there's no. You don't have to deal with the bank if you sell it and pay off the reverse mortgage. They don't care.
Right. And matter of fact, if I give a little commercial, my wife and I started a short sale company about 12 years ago. She's done about 2,000 of them. So if it is a short sale, just call me. I'll turn you over to her. She does everything start to finish, and and doesn't take any of the realtor's commission. But what we were saying is, in most cases, reverse mortgages are going to have some equity. Sometimes if the market really crashed, they might not. They typically, you can't go over what, Ched, 75% on a reverse mortgage, but if the property value went down 40% and there's more owed than it's worth, then that would be a reverse mortgage that is also a short sale. And that was the case in this particular example that we were talking about.
Okay, so yeah, you don't have to use a short sale if there's good equity. You just put it on the market and pay off the lender. Okay, good.
If it's a reverse mortgage that has equity, it's no different than a regular sale, other than you got to get on it right away before the bank does, get aggressive.
Right.
A little more urgency there.
And if there is no equity, I have other ways to be punished than getting messed with that. Okay. Somebody mentioned that they bought 100 leads. Do you have a program where in a large market a person can buy a number of leads instead of the whole market?
We do. We just started that a couple months ago. So yes, we do.
Okay.
It's generally more expensive per lead because there's a fixed cost associated with getting people out to the courthouse, and there's a minimum order. But yeah, we do offer that now as of a couple months ago.
Oh, good. Okay. Well, I'll get the details on that privately. And the third thing is you mentioned the conversation framework for that first call after they get the letter. Where should I look on the site without having to wander around looking for that particular conversation where you gave us that?
You can find it after the third fast track video, or in your case, Leroy, if you look at the recap from Probate Mastery Session 3 that you have, it was also in that.
Okay, I'll find it.
It's called the Probate Seller Interview Sheet.
That's all I need. Thank you very much for your help.
Thank you, Leroy. We have two more in the queue. Phone number ending in 3908. You're up next.
Hey, guys. It's Sam from Richmond. How are you?
Hey, Sam. Hey, great. Welcome.
Good. I wanted to jump in because you talked about that was me that had the not the PR, but one of the trustees for the estate was accused of killing the deceased, and that actually is still an interesting story. I did reach out to her, and she's still really on the fence, trying to deal with everything emotionally. Like, her brother's trial was going on, and now he's been found mentally incompetent, and so it's still a pretty crazy thing. But I'm just sitting back, providing support for when she's ready to talk about anything.
Wonderful. That's the way
which brings me to the next point. We actually we had a listing that we got from Probate. It's about $400,000, and we listed. It's been on the market for almost 2 weeks now, and it's not selling as quickly as she would like, and so of course she's upset, and it's all our fault that it's not selling and everything like this. And I finally called her and said, look, things happen, we're working, this is what we're doing, this is the feedback we're getting, everything's good. And because I had built up such a relationship with her for the last 5 months, she was like, oh yeah, I completely understand, you're great, you're fine, we're all good. She's like, let's just let it sit, we'll keep doing what you're doing, I have faith in you. But again, if I didn't have that relationship, I think it would be a different story.
That's great.
So I can't really stress that enough. It's how important it is to build relationships with people. In this niche especially. And then third success story, there's a guy that my boss is on a listing appointment with right now who I've been trying to reach out to him for 3 months. I've sent him 3 different letters, left him 4 different voicemails. He finally called me back last week, said he had 2 properties, and we talked about that, set up some options, and then he called me back the next day and said there were 2 more properties that he inherited, that he wants to get rid of all 4 of them. So there's probably $500,000 in real estate that he inherited that now he wants to unload, and
wow.
He just likes the fact that we answer the phone and I'm willing to talk to him without pressuring him. So he wants to give us all 4 properties.
Wow, that's great.
So had you stopped at one phone call, do you think you would have ever listed those 4 properties?
Oh, of course not. Or just one letter. Like if I had just left 1 letter and 1 phone call and never got a hold of him, then I probably wouldn't have, gotten that. But
so that's the lesson of the day, guys. The fortune's in the follow up, and a lot. We find that we recommend a minimum of 3 letters and 3 phone calls. But the more, if you continue to call until you speak with somebody, that's definitely the best practice, regardless of how many times that takes.
That's great. And I often share with people, they ask me, do they all have real estate? And I often say, 80 to 90% of them do, but the ones that have multiple properties kind of more than make up for the ones that don't. That we've heard that, I think the record was a gentleman that had 12 properties, because generally people are elderly when they die, and a lot of people own more than 1 property. It might only be 1 that shows up in their name, the rest might be in trusts, and that's another good reason for not scrubbing leads, because until you actually may have that conversation like you did, Sam, you really don't know for sure what they own and how much is involved. So
definitely. And this particular lead came up as the last known address was an apartment. So if I had scrubbed that out again, I would have missed out on 4 properties. Yeah.
Wonderful. Great story. Thank you.
I always like to take the opportunity to underscore comments like that. Like, so many people get the data and look at it and say, well, those aren't my zip codes, or that's an apartment, and I'm not calling this person. And we've got story after story after story. But in this case, what's the total listing volume, Sam? Is it 800,000?
It's around 500,000.
So $500,000 in listings, and it was to an apartment address to a person who didn't answer the phone the first 4 times, right?
Mhm. And he's out of town. He's in Yorktown, so it's about 2 hours away from us. The PR.
So for those of you guys that are on the phones, those are all these are great stories, and thanks for sharing, Sam. You've done really well with this, because I think probably better than anyone, you realize, okay, there's 2 to 6% in there that I'm going to help. Let's go find them. And you're tenacious about your prospecting and follow-up and customer service, and it's no surprise that you're doing so well. So thank you for sharing.
Oh, well, thank you.
Awesome, Sam. We should probably finish with you, but we have one more person that no pressure to top Sam. Thank you so much, Sam. We appreciate it. All right, no pressure. Phone number 1382. It looks like you're the last up today.
Hey, this is Kent in Tulsa, Oklahoma.
Hey, Kent.
I won't one-up Sam here. I do have a quick question about the initial caller regarding reverse mortgages. If the heir has no interest in the property, they basically are just going to throw their hands up and let it go. Is there any value to going to the lender directly and seeing if they're willing to work out a better price? And if so, the owner basically quick claims it over and it's a done deal. Is that even possible?
it won't be easy because you're assuming that lenders are they're like the government. They're not easy to deal with, and they're not often logical. We get questions like that about short sales. Why did the bank do this? Why didn't they do this? It's a very bureaucratic system you're dealing with. Possibly if it's a small little credit union or local bank, you might have some success. Chad, do you think you would have much success with Bank of America or Wells Fargo doing something like that?
I don't know how many of those are actually done. I mean, I know that there is a secondary market for those, so some of them are written by bigger banks. You would definitely be more likely if it were written by a small company, if it was a servicing company. And I think the play there you would go in and negotiate a note purchase and then go to the seller and negotiate with them separately.
I see.
It would be a lot of work. If you're a really good negotiator and you're willing to put the time in and work your way through the bank to learn the process, I mean, I'm not going to say you can't do it. I'm sure you could.
Well, you said something very key, and that is a note purchase. I purchased a note from the FDIC on a foreclosure one time and went in as the judgment creditor and got the house for less than minimum bid. So, but for the most part, it sounds like it'd be riding a dead horse. Anyway.
Yeah, I mean, you'd need to get control of the note. So that would be, it's finding the asset manager or the loss mitigation officer who works with the reverse mortgage part of the bank would be your first step, and see if you can have that conversation.
Okay.
But typically those notes will be pulled together and sold to institutional investors. So it's pretty hard to have a one property conversation with a bank because they're big wheels turn slow, right?
Yes,
it's interesting. One thing I did want to say, we've had often that is the case. If there's no equity or little equity, the heirs walk from it. We've had a few where it was just the opposite. That the people just were extremely conscientious, and that was Dad's house. He wouldn't want it to get foreclosed, so we'll do everything we can to work with the short sale companies. So don't assume one way or the other, whether there's equity or not, that the heirs are not going to cooperate. Most of them won't, but a percentage of them will, just because they want to do the right thing. So kind of like not knowing where the real estate is located till you contact the heirs. Have that conversation. Don't screen anything out, and don't assume anything. I mean, take a look and see who the lender is, and it might be worth a call for sure.
Thank you.
All right. And by the way, we have one more person. I think the person that started the call is going to end it. I recognize that phone number, 1773. You're up again.
Hi, it's Michelle and Luis again.
Yes.
Yeah, so just as far as the reverse mortgages, I know this seems to be the hot topic today, but so you're saying that the normal process, if they owe more than what the home is actually valued at, it's actually considered a foreclosure?
It's considered a short sale, but I'm saying that that's unusual because most reverse mortgages don't lend 100%. They only lend 65, 70% of what it's worth. So the vast majority of reverse mortgages are going to have equity, and you're not going to treat it any different than a normal transaction, except there's a little more urgency because they will move more quickly to foreclose. But if you there will be rare exceptions. If you're in a market that took a big hit and it was over leveraged, property values went down 50%. You could run into one or two reverse mortgages that are short sales, but it's pretty rare. I mean, it's probably 1 in 50 or 1 in 100. So I wouldn't worry about it too much. And if it does happen, again, just see if the family's willing to cooperate. But you could do short sales for the next 10 years and not run into that. So I wouldn't.
Right.
But the typical scenario with the reverse mortgage is mom or dad takes it out. It's no more than an 80% LTV. They take either a lump sum or a certain amount per month, and the fine print in the note and deed of trust essentially says, if somebody passes away, you can either pay the note off or put the property on the market. And there's certain things like if the mortgagee is no longer living or no longer living in the house, then you must prove that the home is on the market, or they can trigger an acceleration and essentially foreclose. But typically the homes are going to have equity. They're going to go on the market, they'll sell, and the note will be paid. Or the family will take money from the estate or the life insurance or, some part of the estate. If they want to keep the home, they can simply just pay that note off. So the home doesn't have to be sold, or it gives them more time to sell it. So it's, Florida is common because the market fell so far, and they may have originated that reverse mortgage at the peak where they had, 80 LTV might be, they may be well underwater still. But in most areas, you're not going to see that. Most of the time, the reverse mortgage, it does create a little bit of urgency, but it's not a distressed situation.
Okay.
All right. Very good. Thank you. You're the last person in the queue today. I want to really thank everybody who participated, each and every one of you, especially the inspiring stories like Sam had for us. That's not the first or second time she's shared successes. So I want to ask you all again, once you get successful at this program, come back. We tend to get a lot of new people on these calls, so please keep coming back every Thursday and participate and share like Sam did. And I always like to end these calls by challenging y'all. You took almost an hour to be here today. You took an hour out of your day. You heard some great ideas. You heard some great wins. Take one thing, one idea, one thing that inspired you on this call. Go out and put it into practice, and please come back next Thursday and share it with the group. In the meantime, if you need us before Thursday, support@alltheleads.com or give us a call. Thanks again, guys. Make it a great week. We'll talk to you same time next Thursday. Take care.